All right, let's dive in. We're about to take a quick journey through maybe the most complex and fascinating thing in the entire universe, the human mind. Over the next few minutes, we're going to go from the very first sparks of thought to the intricate wiring that makes each of us who we are. We'll even peek under the hood at what's really going on when we feel anxious or, struggle to remember a name.
So let's start with a number that, well, it really puts the sheer scale of this into perspective. 386 billion euros. Get this, that is the estimated cost of brain disorders every single year in Europe alone. This isn't just some abstract topic. It's a massive, massive part of our health and our economy. And here's what's really telling. When you break that number down, direct medical bills are only about a third of it. The biggest slice of the pie, almost half, comes from indirect costs, like people not being able to work. It's just a powerful reminder that brain health isn't some isolated, personal thing. It has these huge ripples that affect all of society.
Okay, so to understand the mind, we've got to go back to the very beginning. Let's explore how we even learn to think in the first place, starting from those first little sparks of awareness and building all the way up to complex reasoning.
A psychologist named John Piaget completely changed how we see this. See, he argued that kids aren't just these empty little buckets that we pour knowledge into. Nope, he said they're more like little scientists. They're actively out there poking and prodding the world, running experiments to figure out how it all works.
Piaget actually mapped this incredible journey out in 4 big stages. We start by just learning through our senses, right? Figuring out that peekaboo isn't magic, the toy is still there. Then language and symbols click into place. After that, we can think logically, but only about real physical stuff. And finally, we get to abstract thought, what-ifs and hypotheticals. It's an entire mind built from scratch in just over a decade. Pretty amazing.
So once that basic hardware for thinking is in place, how does it become, well, us? How does it develop into our own unique personality and intelligence? Let's take a look at how we can start to map our own inner worlds. One of the biggest insights here is that intelligence isn't just one thing. Psychologists split it into 2 main types. You've got fluid intelligence. That's your brain's raw processing power, your speed and flexibility when you're tackling a totally new problem. That tends to dip a bit as we age. But then you have crystallized intelligence. That's all the stuff you've learned, your library of facts and skills. And that can stay strong or even get better over time.
And what about personality? I mean, that can feel impossibly complex, right? But check out this model from the psychologist Hans Eysenck. It's simple, but it's really powerful. He basically said you can learn a whole lot about someone by figuring out where they land on just 2 spectrums, from introverted to extroverted, and from emotionally stable to unstable. Where you fall in these quadrants says a lot. And these differences aren't just on the surface. As this table shows, they seem to be wired right into our biology. Eysenck's theory was that introverts naturally have a higher level of brain arousal. Their minds are already running at a pretty high RPM, so they look for quiet to avoid getting overwhelmed. Extroverts, their brains are a bit less naturally stimulated, so they go looking for excitement. And that one biological difference can affect everything from what we value to how we learn. Now, of course, our inner worlds aren't always calm and orderly. Sometimes they get pretty stormy. So let's shift gears and look at one of the most common challenges we face, the anxious brain, and what's going on biologically when we feel that sense of worry. And if you've ever felt this, you are absolutely not alone. Look at this number. An estimated 14% of people in the European Union are living with an anxiety disorder. That makes it the most common mental illness on the continent. We're talking about millions of people. So what does that actually feel like? Well, this diagram shows how it's often a vicious cycle. It's not just one feeling. The anxiety can lead to things like muscle tension or bad sleep, which then makes you tired and unable to concentrate, which, of course, just gives you more things to worry about. It's a tough feedback loop to break. And while that's happening, here's what's going on inside your brain. Deep in there, a little part called the amygdala acts like your brain's smoke detector. When it senses danger, whether it's real or just imagined, it pulls the fire alarm. This sets off a chain reaction that floods your body with stress hormones like cortisol. It's your fight or flight response. With anxiety, it's like that smoke detector is just a little too sensitive, and it keeps sending out false alarms.
All right, for our last stop on this journey, let's talk about maybe the most profound function of the mind, memory. It's the invisible glue that holds our past, our present, and our future all together. You know, a lot of us worry about our memory as we get older, but take a look at these numbers. Forgetting names?
A whopping 83% of older adults say they deal with that. Misplacing your keys? 60%. These aren't personal failures. This is just a really, really common part of being human.
So why do we forget? Turns out it's not just one thing. Sometimes a memory just kind of fades over time, like an old photo. Other times, a new memory basically elbows an old one out of the way. And as you can see here, our ability to remember is also tied up with our mood, our motivation, and even things like alcohol. Forgetting isn't a simple glitch. It's a really complex part of how memory works. And that really gets to the heart of it all, doesn't it? Memory isn't just a filing cabinet for facts. It's the very thing that weaves together the story of our identity. It connects the person we were in the past to the person we hope to be in the future. Which leads to the biggest question of all. Without our memories, who are we?